Hi, I'm Ralph Miro, and I'm with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in Southeast Wisconsin, and I'm excited to present to coaches in our area an incredible opportunity to hear the #1 coaching workshop in America. Parade Magazine has called our special guest speaker the most important coach in America. Joe Ehrmann is a former Pro Bowler with the Baltimore Colts. He's a current high school coach, and he's the subject of the New York Times best-selling book, Season of Life. Joe has recently authored a book called Inside Out Coaching, How Sports Can Transform Lives. And on January 28th, he'll be here in our area in person to present the message of that book in a special one-day seminar for coaches, and you won't want to miss it. Check out this brief interview with Joe to get a glimpse of what the Inside Out Coaching Clinic will be all about.
Inside Out Coaching, you talk about transactional coaches and transformational coaches. What are the differences, Joe?
Well, to me, a transactional coach is someone that kind of functions from a quid pro quo. If that player meets his or her needs, expectations, then they'll meet the external needs of that player, whether that's playing time, some kind of praise, or plaudits. Transformational coaches understand the almost unparalleled platform power position they have in the lives of young people, and their intent is to change the arc of every young person's life by being coached by them. So what I did in preparation for the book, I graded every coach I had from the age 10 to 36. And I thought through all those experiences, what I learned, what I could have learned, what I wish I hadn't learned. I thought about developmental needs, going from puberty to adulthood. And I had 3 or 4. And boy, they just marked my life and built a resiliency in me and gave me a belief that I didn't have. Saw something in me that I didn't see and radically changed my life. Yeah, I was a kid that grew up in a home, really had an absent dad, and when he was there, it was filled with violence and anger. Grew up in the midst of all of that, and as I write in the book, I was brutally beaten and raped when I was a 12-year-old boy. Hid the shame of that, and that built this deep pathology out of my own anger and trying to express a sense of self based on my ability to knock people flat on their back. Most coaches wanted to put the blinders on, and all they cared about was whether I performed for them. The transformational coaches, boy, they kind of saw a different side of me. They saw a part of a human potential and abilities that I had way beyond sports. I think every coach, boy, ought to have a transformational purpose. When I started over at Gilman, I understood what my purpose was as a coach. I coach to help boys become men of empathy and integrity who will lead, be responsible, and change the world for good. Once you understand your purpose, then you ought to direct all of your drills, all your interactions, ought to be around accomplishing your purpose. Why I wrote that book is I think America has lost its weeds in youth sports and high school sports in this country. We're not looking at the social, emotional, moral, ethical development of young people. Sports ought to be a continuation of the educational day. And in a city like this, where in America one of our deepest problems is the achievement gap of poor minority students not compared to their white and Asian counterparts, sports ought to be a continuation of the classroom. You could extend that educational day an hour or two when it's coached in a way that coaches are there to transform young people, not just to get wins and self-recognition. I think we've broken the social contract between the role of adults and youth. Youth sports were created to help nurture, guide, train boys in the manhood, girls in the womanhood. Many of these programs have now been taken over by adults to meet the needs of adults at the expense of kids. And we've got to figure out, and every parent and every coach has got to figure out, what is the outcome, what is that you ought to walk away from that experience. It can't be just about winning, because to me the great myth in America is that sports builds character. In a win-at-all-cost culture, sports does not build character unless some coach intentionally teaches it and models it and nurtures it in their players.
This workshop will be sponsored by the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. The cost is $25 for coaches that register by January 6th. Again, the clinic will be on January 28th, 2012, from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Oakwood Church in Heartland. Space is limited, so register early. Log on to wisconsinfca.org and look for the Inside Out Workshop link. Again, that's wisconsinfca.org. We hope to see you there.